You're listening to All Things 3D, where we talk about the world of fabricating, designing, and capturing in the third dimension.
All right, look at this. What do we got here? This is looks like an interesting live stream going on. Live.curiositystream.com.
Yeah, actually, this is the Darpa Robotics. What do you want to call it? Championship of 2015.
Yeah.
You know, they've been running this every year. Essentially, they bring a bunch of robots from a lot of different universities and other engineering disciplines, and they kind of run them off. They have what do you call it? Obstacle courses they have to go through. They have courses. And one thing I don't remember being done last year, maybe that's where the Curiosity Stream Live comes from, is that you can watch this whole event all day if you want to. Obviously, we're not going to, or at least we won't. But yeah, I thought this is kind of cool. If you're interested in robotics, and who isn't? I mean, if you've got a 3D printer, it's kind of like a robot. Or you're building robot parts. Or if you're part of the RepRack community, don't you have that robot motto of, if you can replicate, you have a RepRap? No, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Obviously, I'm into robots. I know that when James joins us, he'll be excited because, you know, he's got a little project that we really can't talk about anymore, but it has to do with robotics. So awesome. I think he'll be excited about this. All right, Chris. Hey, you're back.
Hey, yeah, good to be back. You know, family emergencies take you away and kind of give you a reality check, but I'm here back. Everything's all good, and we're moving forward. And today, it's June 5th, Friday edition episode of All Things 3D. I'm Chris.
And I'm Mike.
And we are here to talk about the news of what happened this week. A lot has happened since I was here a couple weeks ago. Obviously, you and James kind of picked up the slack and went over some great news items, because the technology doesn't stand still just because I'm not covering the news for a couple weeks, and it just keeps. It seems like it's gotten even faster. so we've got lots to talk about.
I know, if you're not on top of it, it just kind of goes by. Hey, are you sporting a beard like mine? How interesting. Except you don't.
Oh, I might need to make this profile a little bit more.
That's kind of scary.
What is this that you have up? Adobe.
Oh, that's right. Well, I was going to let you go into your first item, which is Electrolume, but I'll head out to mine, and then you can jump into yours. Well, actually, we've got quite a crowd out there that likes to send me links, and one of them sent me this, and actually, it was Brian who couldn't make it today, but he was on last week, and glad that he was. He had a lot to talk about, but because we talked about Google I/O last week, which was pretty cool. And obviously, their new initiative with Cardboard is really moving forward, and Tango has kind of got new legs. But this is a product, Mixamo, that I've used in the past, or at least looked into, and I'm assuming that Brian has used it. Essentially allows you to bring in 3D models, and then it will automatically rig it. But it's been acquired by Adobe and will be included in the Creative Cloud. And since I have a Creative Cloud subscription, I look forward to this. I don't know what their pricing plan is. I know that when Mixamo was using it, they originally had it so that you'd have to pay for so many rigs. I think you get like 3 free, then after that you have to pay for then someone said in one of the forums that no, that's not true. You get unlimited, but I think there may have been an initial cost for that. Now that it's being rolled in, I don't really know what that's going to include, but they have several tools. And let's see, I should have another link from Mixamo. So let me jump to our, here it is. And
Mixamo. Looks like a poser type product almost, like for rigging characters and create, rig, and animate.
Yeah, what's even better about this is that you put in a standard T or an A pose character, and then it will automatically find the rigging position for the skeleton, which is important if you're doing animation. And it shows you here, and I guess you can control it. I tried to put one that I had done from either it was Pixies 3D,
Whoa.
but yeah, see how quickly. So then you'll be able to, and there's the skeleton for it.
What?
But yeah. So obviously, if you recall, we did a full scan of you. So I was hoping to treat you to yourself in animation.
Oh, one of these days, I know I need to rescan. And I think another huge one that we haven't talked about yet, and I'm sure people are working on it, is for fitness goals, right? And seeing yourself as a lard ass because you've been sitting on the couch for too long, watching yourself in 3D grow compared to where you might have had some goals before, and where you're getting a little off track, and and you could do overlays like heat maps to show, oh, my belly is growing a little bit.
Chris,
yeah,
that has happened. I don't know if you had skipped out on that episode, but we had a group on to talk about that, and it's exactly like that. And we kind of thought, who wants to get a scan of themselves so that they can use it as a comparison? Well,
I do. I want to see the biceps grow.
Okay. Well, I guess. Okay. However, they've got several. Let's go up to the top. Because they've already identified. Okay, you have a Fuse preview, rigging, and animation. The Fuse preview is both either a web-based product and a standalone product that you can create different variations of characters. They're running through a little profile, and you can add different clothing, so you can create various 3D models.
Very cool. It's a cute model too.
Yeah, your volume just rode up. Don't know what happened there.
Hey there.
Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Yeah, so cute model there. Jeez. 3D character, Chris. All right, well, you've got an item to talk about, so let's jump in.
Yeah. So Electrolume is on Kickstarter, and it's the world's first 3D fabric printer. And I'll bring it up here for you. And it's already back. It's backed. It's only got 10 days to go. So it's been on Kickstarter for a while, but it flew under the radar for me. I didn't see it pop up until this morning, and it is pretty amazing product as far as kind of showing some, promise. As far as I grew up in a screen printing company. I've been in the apparel industry for my whole life, literally since I was born. My parents started their screen printing company when the year I was born, and in our apartment. So T-shirts have always been a fascination. That's how I got my start in 3D printing. Is I came from the 2D printing realm, and so T-shirts and apparel are kind of near and dear to my heart. And I've always dreamt that someday I'll have a robot that I can spin my own T-shirts and kind of loom my own apparel on demand. And this is definitely a stride forward in that direction. It's a product they developed, these three American guys developed, and they took their idea to Shenzhen, which is now the kind of maker capital of the world. I would say it's kind of there's basically a new space race going on for manufacturing, making, and
yeah, we covered that a little bit about
Shenzhen is
that.
kind of and Shenzhen is on the cover of Make magazine. This month's issue is talks about Shenzhen, and it's definitely at the forefront of all the development of a lot of the maker movement right now. And so here it is, the product making. They were kind of in development, and then they went to Shenzhen. They kind of explain the whole story. So if you head over to Kickstarter.com and type in Electrolume, you should be able to pop it up. It's still got 10 days to go. They're fully backed. And they kind of are a little pricey for an alpha unit, but you can buy, they show their first tank top. The world's first tank top came off of it. So here's a 3D printed skirt, a 3D printed tank top, some helmet, him being goofy. So they still have alpha units for delivery of March 2016 for about $5,000.
So what's the material again?
The material is, I don't even know if they really go into that. So what it is, it doesn't really say, does it? It just says it's raw. My guess would be it's some sort of polyester, some sort of polyester fabric.
It's a cornstarch variant.
Is it?
I don't know. That seems like pretty.
Yeah, I don't think they really have given away.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Oh yeah, polyester. It's a custom polyester cotton blend.
How funny.
That's what they're currently working on. So who knows if that's really what they'll end up. But they're making beanies and all kinds of stuff. So pretty cool.
So what does it cost for this thing?
So you can get a unit now for about $5,000. You can get it. You can order a unit in alpha that will be delivered sometime March of 2016. And then they've also got for if you just want to buy a 3D printed good, you can buy some sample fabric, or for $100 you can buy a 3D printed tank top. You could buy a skirt for $100. So pretty cool. I'm really excited to see this thing move forward.
Gosh.
I'm happy it got fully backed.
I am too. I'm glad to see that. An innovative product, obviously. And, if you remember, Chris, I talked about some time back about using the occipital structure sensor as a 3D scanner to scan burn victims at the Shriners, which I need to get contact with them because I've made a lot of progress over the time that you've been gone on my product called BioStep Capture, which is kind of a pro version of the scanner app that allows a lot of new features, which sadly you didn't get a chance to look at. So maybe we'll go back into it. I'll invite you on when I do the live tutorial on it. But part of what they want to do is take in the 3D model of the individual and then use a software package to wrap material, because burn victims need a very tight-fitting, form-fitting material that they need to be wrapped in. And so they've actually have the software as well as the cutting machine that they're planning to put in the hospital itself. So it's a full turnkey system. So this looks like possibly, obviously the material might not be what they're looking for, but I could see something like this being used in a situation like that, where you need rapid prototyping of clothing based upon the individual who's there, maybe special materials, which I could see happening. So yeah, this is really exciting. And, last week we did cover the Chinese Silicon Valley, which, because sadly, it's hard to believe, but their economic system is kind of taking a little bit of a downturn because, things have stabilized out. So how are they going to continue growth? So they're trying to create a Silicon Valley in China to continue to spur growth. And this obviously is an offshoot of that. And I'm glad that we are a worldwide environment, and Make Magazine has taken the effort to cover it, because I think, as we're aware of, there's a lot of maker communities. Last week we had a guy from Egypt for an interview, which I wish you were a part of. That was both an interesting story and somewhat sad, but they've got their own little maker place in Cairo, Egypt. So they're everywhere. All right, so I'm going to move on to my next item, and that is, you've heard of 3D Hubs. I think you're actually part of 3D Hubs, right, Chris?
Mm-hmm. I am indeed.
I am not. I've decided to stay away from that. I can't even handle my own business locally, so I can't really get involved with this right now. But one of the things that they put out monthly, I guess, is kind of an insight of where people get content from, which is that little graph, the desktop printers that get the highest ratings. Now, keep in mind here that this is kind of, what am I going to call it? First, where are they getting these reviews are, and I'm assuming it's within the 3D Hub community. But two, notice their highest rating only has 44 reviews, where something like the Zortrex M200 has 372, or the Form Plus One has 509. So obviously, as you increase it, unless you've got an excellent product, you're going to kind of skew those results a little bit. So I don't think it's worth saying the Cosel XL with only 44 reviews is at 4.84. And then something like the Form Plus One is at 4, which is still significant. But notice how many reviews.
Mike, don't you know anything about Z tables and P tables and statistics?
Oh yes, that's why I'm being stupid.
No, yeah, no, I think you're dead on. I think it's hard to your sample population here obviously is relegated to only the 3D Hubs survey participants, and so you are definitely getting a different segment who's offering their printers up for sale or for hire, if you will. But you know, so it is, and I think they probably go into that. There is some disclaimer that they definitely will go into. So well, yeah, it is definitely skewed.
Each of the table columns are clickable, so you can show the number of reviews. And as you see there, it shows the Form Plus being 501, the Zortrax, that's 372. So obviously you can tell how many printers are out there of a particular style in the community. And
that's what I really love about Amazon, is how transparent their reviewing system is. So it's very trustworthy review process, because you can go down, and I like to read both the best reviews and the worst reviews, and be able to actually see, okay, this is why I rated it a 1 star, or this is why I rated it a 5 star. That to me is the most thorough review that we have yet. So that's why I think Amazon is really, I think their review process is one of the reasons that they're the top dog in the online distribution.
And I have to agree with it. And because you're allowed to also provide written descriptions of why you reviewed it in such a manner, and plus they provide both the positive and negative in those Amazon reviews, I agree with you, which prevents it from loading. However, Amazon has gone out and sued a couple of people who are artificially loading reviews, so they're not completely what do you want to say, protected from the artificial means of pumping up reviews, but they are active in trying to keep it honest, as you said. So but you know, in this case, it is somebody who's taken the effort to create a table. 3Ders.org also has a great table, not necessarily for reviews per se, but a whole list of 3D printers. That's where I went to originally to look up and do research. But it's a great table. Let's continue. Industrial printers. They talk about obviously industrial printers, and again, you can compare them by ranking and number of reviews. Let's see where yours sits.
Doesn't look like there's any Fortis on there in the top 10.
Interesting. Notice there's a lot of Z-Core.
Well, the Dimension 1200 would be the closest thing, and that's number 6 on the list. So Dimension 1200 is the same machine, but the Fortis is actually slightly more slightly more tuned software. The software allows me to go in and edit toolpaths and kind of do some more professional grade things via engineering grade FDM requires.
Yeah, it's more of the industrial printer. So if I remember correct, the Dimension is like one step down, more of the business model, where yours is the industrial, right?
Yeah, or I think they call it. I can't remember what the category is. It's somewhere in it. It's in between. Mine's like the step in between, and then the step up from that would be the 400, or now they have the 380 MC, which is they're getting real expensive. So I'm happy with my 250. It just is a workhorse. It just works all the time. That's what I love about it.
Well, it's got to, for what you do. You spew out parts all the time. So here are some of the things that printer models that are trending right now. Some of the newer ones we've talked about and had a few of these people on, the Da Vinci. We've talked about, it's interesting, the FlashForge Creator Pro. When James comes on, he's going to talk about it because he is finally bitten the dust. No, is that correct? No. He's actually purchased one. He was hoping to have it before the weekend, but it won't be here till Monday. But he bought the FlashForge Creator Pro. which, if some of our audience isn't aware of it, it's almost a clone of the MakerBot Replicator 2X. It looks a lot like it. However, the positive is they have added some of the greater open source add-ons or features that corrected some of the problems with the Replicator 2X. So obviously we're going to get a lot of firsthand experience from James on that. So they've got a lot of tables in here, top print cities, New York. I'm not surprised with that, with all the huge maker movement in New York. It's a concentrated area. I am a little surprised on Los Angeles, though. I thought it might be the San Francisco, which is not even on this list. So I find that a little unusual. Maybe you have an answer for that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It could be, you know, New York is huge, right? And it's, like you said, very concentrated. And San Francisco is a little bit more sprawled out. And San Francisco proper, there's definitely some prototyping labs, and I mean, there's many, but there's also many that are in Silicon Valley just nearby, or you know, right outside, which would be like the Stanford area of Palo Alto. And so I think probably radius wise, Silicon Valley probably is more concentrated than New York if you were to do like a 15-25 mile radius or something. But who am I to just pull that out of my ass and claim that? I don't know.
And plus, it might be the metropolitan areas, which obviously, depending on the concentration, right. San Francisco.
And again, your sample size, 3D Hubs could have a marketing push, it looks like, maybe on the East Coast, and so they might have a bigger presence, and so their sample size might be more there.
Well, if you go back to it, though, it's, you know, you've got New York, Milan, Los Angeles, London. It's all over the place, so it's more of an international level. Well, let's move on to printer model distribution. No surprise there, the Ultimaker 2, I do think, is one of the more popular printers. You know, even though my experience wasn't the best, I had like one of the first ones off the assembly line, and you know what they say about that. It is, and we've had them on several times. They've got a great, what do we want to call it, work ethic. They have a big heart. They've worked with Enable and a few other sources that I saw at Maker Space that was really interesting. We got to talk a little bit about that. You missed a huge event, Chris. Huge event.
Dang it. Dang it.
But
I like to go to events.
So, I got sick because there's like too many little germ carriers.
You get spun out. Oh yeah, you get spun out at well, and you get dizzy. I mean, it's just so much to cover.
It's like, also I was told it was like 2 to 3 times larger this year, Chris.
I know.
It was huge. They had I mean, I was on my feet. Luckily I had all 3 days to cover it, but I used that time and pretty much got a lot of material. So if you had any chance,
one of my
YouTube
all-time best favorite like symposium type thing, or I don't know, a keynote, I would say, a couple of them. 2 of my all-time favorites were at Maker Faire. One by Chip Yates, who flies electric airplanes in the Mojave Desert, and he also holds world record for the fastest electric motorcycle. It was definitely inspiring, definitely enlightening to see a guy that has taken a dream and gone through and he just does it. I mean, the guy's flying electric airplanes, some of the first electric airplanes on the planet, and I mean, going to revolutionize basically travel. You know, this guy has done it with a team of college students. He just went out.
I think this year, one of the keynotes was I don't want to say X, but the previous editor of Wired magazine, who went off to start a business doing robotics and UAVs. I can't think of Chris Anderson, I think, was the keynote speaker at Maker Faire this year. But the other fun thing was, as I mentioned, I've covered a lot of it. There was a lot of videos. So if you didn't get a chance to look at them yet, Chris, I know things have been a little swamped for you. Take a look at it. As you know, it was first-person view. I covered the interview that can't think of his name now, sadly, but the CEO and founder, or CEO plus the founder of Maker Faire, gave a heartfelt little discussion to the media group that I recorded. So you may enjoy that. Plus, there's this guy who creates, what is he? something stash, but he creates these little robots that are like steampunk, like little robot things. So it's kind of cool. A lot of, as you know, a lot of quirky characters. Try to capture a little bit about that. This is always fun with them. They show the 3D printing map of the world, the number of locations and printers around the world, which I think is kind of cool. All right, so off of this subject, what's your next item, Chris?
My next item is, let's see. Well, I guess next item would be in architecture. And this is one that my friend Frankie sent me this morning. And this is pretty interesting. The luxury 3D printed estate set to be made from sand, dust, and gravel. This is going to happen over in upstate New York. This was from 2 days ago, Wednesday, June 3rd, and it's on CNN.com. And it's an architect that designs a 3D printed
Chris,
estate. Yes.
Could I interrupt you for a moment to go
Sure.
ahead and expand or zoom a little bit on that?
You got it. I'll zoom in here. Psh, psh. How's that?
That's great.
And pretty awesome design here, kind of with like a pool incorporated into the house. You can see some rocks in the background. This is just a rendering, obviously, of the structure. Very naturalist looking structure. I like these renders, but they are actually going to do this. Now, obviously, we've talked about it. They've built, they've done some 3D printed structures in the Netherlands and China, and this one is going to be a 2,400 square foot house with a swimming pool, jacuzzi, carport, and it's going in a little plot of land in upstate New York. And it's designed by Adam Kushner and a 3D printing pioneer, Enrico Dini, and his D-Shape firm. And it's supposed to be completed by December 2015. So, you know, it always takes twice as long and costs twice as much. So I'll believe it when I see it. But this is
to say that's
the machine. This is the machine they're going to use, or a version of this, the Dini 3D printer. And you can actually find out more about the Dini and the technology to 3D print this sand. I guess it's like more like a marble-like material. And it's this is the machine here on D-Shape. It's d-shape.com. And this is the technology they're going to be using to build this one-of-a-kind 3D printed building structure. So very, very cool. Oh, here's another shot of it. There's the machine, and there's the plot of land. And here's
the plan, the landscape planning.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's, you know, I had posted that link, didn't know if you were going to be on today, because I wanted to cover that under the architectural area, and I'm glad that you picked it up. One of the things that I read in is that it's a special composition, as you indicated, kind of like a marble. But one of the advantages of it is that you can create intricate shapes with it. So it must be able to extrude and harden fairly quickly in order to get some of those shapes. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what they can do with it. I'd like to get Monica on again to talk about it, since that's what she specializes in architectural and technology. So maybe at another time when they progress with that, we can have her come on, or maybe we can even actually get them on. Maybe that's an idea. I'll
there you
send
go.
them a little note, get them back on. All right, well, I'm going to run into my next item, and this is under the Scanner Darkly section. And this is another little scanner. But this one's kind of cool because, you know, there's a couple of ways to do 3D scanning. One is, you know, actually multiple ways. One of them is to project a pattern like the structure sensor and then take the deformation of the pattern. The other end is use time of flight, which uses lasers, time that it reaches and comes back to the imager. Or you can actually use what we use, which is 2 cameras. And from there, we can determine depth. Well, this thing is really cool. As you can see there, it's very small. And what it does is it creates a continuous stream, either USB 2 or USB 3. Obviously, USB 3 allows you to have a higher resolution. It's above 1080p. But it continuously streams it to actually a laptop or a desktop unit. So that's the only caveat. There's not much going on in the camera itself. But, and they've got a little video here that I will play. But essentially, as you can see in this, we see things on most video as just single. And I was hoping that they would go to a, an anaglyph of the two cameras, which is what I can see as an opportunity. But from their perspective, what they're able to do is compute the actual depth map. And let's see if they get to it. Here we go. This should start. There's the depth map. So this is what the two cameras together can be computed. And with that, you can then create point clouds. And then they show another scene here. Now, obviously, it's not as detailed as the RGB image, but it gives you enough depth information to be able to determine. Now, notice these shots are actually the ones above there from a UAV. So they've mounted this where you would normally put a camera so that you can get twin stereo. So I'm wondering, okay, how are they doing this from a UAV? How are you getting a stream down? I'll have to see if they actually have an internal recording functionality, which would be great, but I don't think so. But here they're showing you down in the bottom right-hand corner an inset image of the actual depth map. And again, remember, the depth map is important because from there you can determine the ability to create 3D point clouds and eventually a mesh if you wanted to create a 3D object. Or you can allow it to be used for placement for robotics and things like this. So yeah, that's, in my opinion, very, very neat. I'm excited. In fact, I'm going to have to find the seat cushions on this one because I'm going to. But it's kind of cool because the reason for it is, and I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. And here it talks about the image size. Not only does it have obviously the computation algorithms to do the depth maps, but it also is 2 stereo imaging cameras. So imagine being able to create either anaglyph or some other type of 3D on the fly. Imagine doing a full streaming thing where you're 3D, adding it to a first-person view, or more importantly, if you're using a VR headset like the Oculus Rift, where you're fully enclosed, you mount this on top of it, and you now have an accurate AR, or augmented reality system, where you're getting both the stereoscopic video along with the projected image that's projected inside the unit. And then, as I'm going to talk about soon, having an environment awareness system that I am going to be talking about in a little bit. But so I think this is really cool. Pricing, is it expensive? I don't know, $449. That's about the same price as the V360 that I purchased. And if it works as well as it shows there, I was hoping to have Robert on from the aerial photography group, but I gave him a last minute link and he couldn't make it, but I would like to see his take on this. Because if you remember, Chris, he is developing a UAV system, but using the standard photogrammetry technique of taking snapshots as you're traveling. This might be something better for creating at least lower distance. In the specs, it tells you, let's see if it tells you up here, what its distance is. Here it goes, 20 meters away. So from 4 meters up to 20 meters, which is not a great amount of depth information, but it's more than a lot of systems. So I look forward to seeing more and maybe actually trying to acquire one. I did try to invite them on, but again, it was a last minute thing, and they probably just now got my reply, or they're inundated because of all the news on it, and I'm now at the bottom of the list. Who knows, but I will keep trying and we'll get more information from them. So I think that's a pretty cool item. All right, next item for you, Chris.
Well, I guess we could go into projects of the week or products of the week, whatever you want to cover. I think you've got some stuff. We could cover about the Oculus.
Yeah, let's cover the VR corner and 3D medicine, and then we'll get into our projects because I've got some, but I'll let you have first turn on it. So the next item, and I'll jump back to it. No, I don't want to do that. Where did I put it? Okay, that item. So give me a moment. I apologize. Did I not put it in there? Okay, so where is it at? Here we go. Okay. So jump back to my screen. So yes, Oculus bought a company called Surreal Vision. Now it's interesting, if you go onto their website, it doesn't say a lot, but the article here shows that they've been using to connect Fusion, Dynamic Fusion, and SLAM, which is something that, if you're not familiar with it, a lot of these development systems for the Connect system work with. And it's a integral portion of the occipital unit as well. What is extremely exciting or interesting about this is the same thing that occipital is doing right now, and we'll have a viable demo on Monday that I'll be attending that's using something like this. And it's interesting that they've acquired this group out of, I guess it's the United Kingdom, that looks like a lot of brain power, but if you go out to their website, they don't have a tangible product. And I assuming they have just research. I don't see any more than that unless they've kept it hidden. But they've acquired them in order to provide this environment awareness that I've been talking about, for the last 6 months. So it'll be very interesting what they plan to do with them. One of the things, if I can swing it, is I'm wanting to cover the VR section at E3 this year. But part of what I'm going to do, not only having my media station on the monopod, is wearing my NEODiVR system on my head and go out to the Oculus booth and say, "Hi guys, look what I've got." No, just kidding. We'll see. Everything's a dream. But I thought this was really interesting. There's a lot of parallel things going on. You've got Project Tango, and then you also have the Microsoft HoloLens, all utilizing some form of depth mapping in order to provide real-time surface mapping of an environment, as I call it, environment awareness. So pretty cool. And then finally, let's drop into medicine. The reason I brought this up is because this occurred in Brazil. So I don't know if it happened with our friends there using their product Invicilius, but the point is Brazil has worked very hard in the technology center to create tools to take CT scans and MRI scans and derive tangible and renderings from it. So this kind of caught my attention, but this individual here was in a motorcycle accident, crushed the right side of her head. Obviously she's,
Ouch.
yeah. And then this is her with the correction.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah. So
Gotta wear those helmets, folks.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was the issue. However, I don't know what the laws are in Brazil, but the point is they did two things. One, they created the titanium mesh based upon the analysis of the CTs and the tangible, but they also created a, what did they say? I think this is a, even though it looks white here, I think it was a resin-based model for used in the actual pre-operation and depiction of it. There is the actual titanium mesh. Notice it's fairly large amount, covers over the right cranium and also in the orbital area. And then here's the actual surgeon discussing it, I guess, on their local station. So we're seeing more and more of this. Now that you can create the tangible models with accuracy, you can then use these to create prosthetics or implants, and then actually go through the pre-procedure even before operating to make sure of fit and accuracy, which causes less trauma, less time underneath the, as they say, proverbial knife, which requires less anesthetics or anesthesia. So lots of pluses there. The fact is that this is occurring around the world means that 3D printing has become very pervasive. But again, as I mentioned, having some contact in previous shows with what was his name? Jorge from Brazil, the director of was it CTI? Can't think of
It's like
the
yeah, it was actually some sort of governmental agencies type thing.
Right, it was a governmental technology center, and so I'm only assuming that this came, since it's university based, that there may have been some derivatives there. So hats off to Brazil. lots of things going on like this. Obviously, they saying this person had severe headaches, but look at it. The fact is the deformity in the head is now back to normal. The eyes look better, and more importantly, I think she said that she's recovering. Her headaches are better, and she's smiling there. So there's the before. Here's the after. This would never have happened. Never would have happened 5 years ago. So
I know, it's unbelievable.
You know, as many people are using the term, we live in interesting times. It was the title of my last week's podcast, I remember correctly, or one of them. Yeah, we do. And I am glad that I'm still alive and that I've had an opportunity to see a lot of this. I mean, there's just so many things changing. And I think technology, you know, a lot of people think it's the sin of the world, but I think it's also going to save the world. But I'm an optimist, I guess. Okay, so let's take that on to your next item and get into our projects. You've got something you've been wanting to show us.
Well, I have a product. It's not really a project. I've been out of the office a little bit these last couple weeks, so I haven't really had a lot of time to build anything. I'll probably have a couple things next week, projects-wise and products-wise, and I'll hold those close to my chest until next week or the week after.
What? Are you giving us a little link bait there, buddy?
I am, but I am going to show off a product of the week. Which,
well, let me go through my project first. And
okay,
then we'll
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
I'll
get into your projects. You get into your projects. You show me what you got.
Well, as you know, Chris and I have been talking about this a long time, and I've got two products here. One you contributed immensely to, and I still owe you. I hope you got my message on that. So,
no worries.
But the other one, you remember, I have been looking for an alternative headset, and I now know how to pronounce it. So one of the products, and I'll show yours first. This is the project that I've been working with, the Arizona VR, and I've converted it. But this I am now calling the NEODiVR Plus. Why? Because it supports the iPhone 6 Plus. I found that this headset works a lot better. So I have got some noise there. Here, just amplify. So I don't know if Google is doing that. Okay, I'll just talk over it. But essentially, the plate, I redid the plate, so I re-epoxied the new plate on it. But notice how it matches the 6 Plus. I found some optics. I took them out of it, but I found some optics that fit it perfectly. There's 37.5 millimeter. I have some plano convex lenses, about 45, 50 millimeters, and so that it is at the proper focus point for the distance from the screen. Now all I have to do is find an iPhone 6 Plus. Ready to go. But if you notice with the NEODi mount, and I now call it the NEODi mount Plus for the 6 Plus case, it has the sensor on front of it, but I don't have a phone in there, which can be obviously detached. The newer case will also include the bayonet, but for this one it does not. And it's probably jammed. And the nice thing is, if you remember, Chris, get this out of here. Yeah, your volume is riding up again, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the nice thing is that I contributed the grip and shoot locking mechanism so that it fits with the case. So it's just a slide-on process. I've developed a groove system on the top of the case and a notch, or a, what do you want to call it, a dimpled area in the case here, so it locks in place, so it holds it in. So essentially you just slide it on. Push it into place. There you go. Lock the top in, and voila. So what's
and you've
nice
got a
about
VR with the iPhone. You can just use the iPhone as your VR.
Correct. And I think it is one of the only models, unless you get a Stutzi's VR Plus, the only ones that work with this iPhone 6 Plus. there really isn't another alternative at this particular point. So it'll be one of the few cases. The other cool thing is you have access to all the edges as well as the power button, also the volume keys down below. And so you have access to everything. And then, you know, the problem is, and I'm probably going to redesign it, you want to keep it fully enclosed because you don't want light to get in. But the problem is you can't touch the screen. So one of the things that some people are doing, including Hamido, is using a Bluetooth kind of like joystick type thing to provide all your control process. And as you've noticed, Google Cardboard uses a little magnetic thing. But their new version actually has a conductive material like a mechanical switch. So it takes the capacitance from your finger and transmit it through the conductive material. So it's like you're touching the screen, but you're actually just pushing a conductive button. Which
right.
We've talked
and
about
it won't be long.
Right.
Yeah, it won't be long before they incorporate that whole Google Solio, the Project Solio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is the NEODiVR Plus, and then this is the Hamido, which is a group out of France. So I said there's a positive of France. I talked to them last night at 2:30 in the morning because they obviously, it's a 7-hour difference, so they were just getting to work. So I've been trying to contact them for a month. Finally got a hold of them. They're really excited about this, but essentially, very cool little design. The problem at this point, and they're making a new version, is that it's only good for the 6. So, but it works perfectly for it. $79.95 on Amazon. You can get it tomorrow if you wanted one. And then I will be making a new plate for it, just like the other one, that you essentially, there are 4 screws to remove the earlier plate, and then you put on the new plate. You just screw it in into place. They have both a interocular, I don't know if you can see it moving, you have interocular spacing adjustment, as well as 2 adjustments on the side for fine focus control that you can move independently to, you know, depending on your eyes. And then it includes, just like the previous Ocula, different cups. They're little rubber cups with your lenses in it. I've already replaced these lenses with a glass lens. So in my opinion, it gives me a little sharper image. This thing is awesome. It's lightweight, compact, and if you've got an iPhone 6, get an NEODiVR Mount 6 case, pop it in, put your sensor on it, plug it in, and you have the first environment awareness system. I played it. Now, they don't have the stereo version, and they're working on it, and it'll be available for the show at AWE, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I played it with their demo that they came out that I converted from the iPad, and I was able to get down on my hands and knees and like literally put my face up to like the little sensor button. You remember the little game you played at Real 2015? So you remember the little buttons on the floor? So I was able to actually get down like I was on the floor looking at those buttons and walking around them, or actually crawling around. Isn't that kind of neat?
Yeah,
and
it is really neat.
The cool thing is, unlike the Steam system, where you have to have external sensors in order to provide environment awareness, this reproduces, or what's the word I'm looking for, senses in real time your environment, because it maps out a very basic mesh of your environment and uses that to gauge distance and everything. So it knows where objects are at, all from the internals. Now, obviously, it's only good for 10 meters, but that's not decent sized room. So if you had like like say even about 10 by 10 foot by 10 foot room, that would be adequate to be able to experience a museum, experience a medical office, which is what I'm working on, where you can go up to a wall and look at an X-ray image or an MRI. So there's a lot of pluses there. So I hope I'm not boring you with this, Chris, but it's really exciting to me.
No, it is. It is very cool. It's an environmentally aware augmented reality system. It's pretty cool. I'm really excited to play with it. Can't wait to try it on.
Yep, I'm going to have to come up. Actually, well, I don't know what time you'll get in. I'm going to leave very early on. In fact, if you mind, can I go ahead and talk about the events coming up before we get into the print whisper while I'm on that, or do you want to jump into that?
Go
right
ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons that we're putting a lot of effort in this is there is, I guess it's called AWE, which I just found out a week and a half ago, is the augmented reality VR expo. And they have a lot of the big names. They'll have Google there, they'll have Intel. I didn't see Microsoft, but I'm assuming that they'll probably have a presence. Some of the other people like RealSense, and obviously Occipital will be there. Well, Occipital got a hold of me or actually it was this weekend, said, hey, what's the possibility of getting a VR headset? Because we want to kind of demo it. And I said, well, I just so happen to be creating a modification for the the Hamado system. And so I've already printed out 3 plates, which gets me to my sad story with Sculpteo. I've tried to give them several tries, and the reason I work with them is they have an SLS printer, but their pricing is a little more expensive than Shapeways. But I'm thinking, hey, they're in San Francisco. My original conversations, they said they could give me a 5-day turnaround, 3 days print, 2 days to get it shipped to me. And I said, well, that's pretty good. That's 5 days off of Shapeways, so it might be worth the extra cost. So I've had a Pro, but every time that I've worked with them, either they haven't met the day that they said they would get it to me, or they've denied a print based on some basic thing that Shapeways was able to print, but they said they couldn't. Yet nothing is ever in real time, so I don't ever get a real response. It took 2 days for a model to be rejected. So you lose time there. So you're not really getting the advantage of having a close proximity. Well, I kind of find out why that is the case. Sculpteo is based out of France. And even though they identify that they've got a satellite office in San Francisco, I'm assuming they can probably print there. In my case, I wanted to get 2 plates to Occipital so that they could have them available. You know what? The whole time that I was talking there, I never had my camera up, Chris. So again, sorry, audience. This is the Hamado VR system with the NEODiVR mount system and the structure sensor. And then here is the Plus version based upon the Arizona VR headset and a new plate to support the 6 Plus. And then, so again, I apologize for not switching cameras. So there you get an idea of the 2 different systems. But back to the point. So Sculpteo, I have tried to contact them from Monday if I could have them printed. Well, I would just assume that I was going to have them printed in San Francisco and that I would be able to have someone pick them up in San Francisco. I didn't get a response until yesterday at about 3 o'clock that they were printed in France and they were going to be flown to the United States. Nowhere on their website does it say that they're being printed out of this country. So the fact is, I will not be able to get them tomorrow, even though I made several requests and did not get a response for 3 days to have these in my hands for Friday. If I had known that you were back in business, Chris, I would have gone to you because you always provide me things when I need them. Most of the time,
No problem.
But for the amount of times that we printed together, obviously. So I'm really very disappointed. Shapeways, I like what they do. They don't have a rush job feature. You basically put it in, and you're pretty much guaranteed 10 days later to have something in your hands. Sure, it's 10 days. It would be nice to do, but at least you know that you're going to get something. The quality is really stable, and if you need SLS printing, it is the way to go, in my opinion. I think Sculpteo did a lot of promotion, wanted to be your friend, but in my case, they've never really been my friend. In this case, they really let me down. I had to stay up 2 or 3 hours more last night to print out my own plates. That obviously isn't going to have the same quality as SLS. And the other nice thing about SLS is that you don't require supports So I could build in certain structures into the plate that I cannot now printing on FDM because I don't have the ability to do supports that dissolve. And we know how much of a mess it is when you have support. So again, very disappointed. However, the plates are printed. I'm going to put them in the mail and get them to Saturday so that they can build to Hamado VR systems to use at AWE. So there's a long story short. So if you've never used Sculpteo, I would suggest not. You might have better luck than I do, but I've used them several times, and I have to say that I have been very disappointed this last time. And I probably will never go to them again. So that's just my opinion.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah.
We've got quite a present. And I think a lot of these companies, growing pains is a big part of it. Growing sustainably is definitely a challenge. There's a lot of companies out there that experience the growing pains, especially during the boom cycle, the boom of the business cycle. That's another discussion for another day. But we are going through another boom. And whether or not it's a bubble is just speculation at this point, but there is definitely a boom cycle going on, and a lot of companies are growing, and they're growing at a faster rate than they can accommodate for. So, Sculpteo might be in that boat.
That's quite true, but they're also a world presence. I think Shapeways is also a world presence out of Netherlands, but they created a pretty good foundation. And if you weren't available to be in that interview with Kat Kincaid from Shapeways, she was the 3D print engineering supervisor.
Yeah, I was there. We talked to Kat from Shapeways. I believe I was there in that interview.
No, you weren't, but maybe you listened to it.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
But we talked about it at length. So she really gave me some really good insight about the efforts they put in. I'm not saying that Sculpteo doesn't do something similar, but working with the two repeatedly, I've just found that if you can afford the extra time, I would say invest in Shapeways, or if you got somebody like Chris next to you where you can get personal attention, they can get on the phone. That's the big concern is getting response. As mentioned, I would not have made the order if I did not know I could not pick it up Friday. It shouldn't take 3 days to determine that my product's being delivered from France. And that's probably
service interval is a big part of it.
Yeah, and you do a great job with that. And so obviously for us developers, or shoestring developers like myself, we need people like you. Okay, so enough making sure that you stay with us, Chris. So on to the Print Whisperer, which we've been missing.
Okay, Print Whisperer tip of the day. Let me go to my notes here. That way I can really... So I know we've talked about one, and it's a cleanliness is next to godliness type. Another Print Whisperer tip. I'm a big fan of being clean and organized. I do my best. I'm not it's not a perfect world, and I'm not perfect human either. So I don't think anybody is. But I do my best to stay organized, stay clean. But my Print Whisperer tip of the day is obviously, we've talked about calibration on the FDM printers, FFF printers. Calibration is super important in getting your first layer, bed adhesion, making sure your bed is super level. But the only way you can really get an accurate calibration is if your bed is perfectly clean. And the way to do that, especially if you have glue stick, the first thing I do is I take water. I take a spray bottle full of water. I spray my bed off. Sometimes I'll even use a spatula, like a putty knife, and kind of scrape off any glue that might be there, residue, clean it off real good. Then I take a bottle of alcohol and with a rag and kind of wipe down the bed to get a nice alcohol clean. And then the Print Whisperer tip of the day, sterile alcohol pads. So you buy these on Amazon. They're about yeah, so they're cheap. They're maybe I think they're like $5 for a box. You've seen them. They're like a medical supply for when they swab you before they stick you with a needle type thing. So these are made by Dynarex. These are a little small. These are the medium size. I would probably go a little larger. The next time I order, I'm going to go a little larger. I had some larger ones before. I just tried out the medium size. They're a little small, but they're good for a last pass on your print bed because they are lint free. So they're like a sterile pad, and they're kind of like the same material that maybe a wet wipe is made out of, but they leave a lot less. They don't leave no residue and no lint behind. And that's really important when you're trying to get good bed adhesion. Depending on what material you're printing, it just leaves a perfectly clean bed, so that you can prep your bed however you want. And then right next to my bed, right next to my printer, I keep a list laminated of all the different materials I print at all the different temperatures and what the print bed preparation is, whether it's to put down glue for nylon 618 or 645, or just isopropyl alcohol wipe just for standard materials. So I get that list off of Lulzbot's website. And so my Print Whisperer tip of the day is the Sterile Alcohol Prep Pads. You can find them on Amazon. And they
How about you provide me a link to that Amazon so I can buy some and put it in the show notes? Because after this, right after this, I'm going to go right out to Amazon and I'm going to place an order for this. That's perfect, you know, because I've used paper towels, and you're right, they leave a little residue, or the paper towels, depending on, you know, how clean it is, leave a little bit of debris, and I hate that. And, you know, if it weren't for you, I would never have thought of that. So thank you, Mr. Print Whisperer.
You got it. Yeah, they're about 2 cents a pad, so, you know, they're cheap enough that anybody can, you know, afford them. And I will definitely, they're going in the show notes now. There they are.
Excellent. All right, so we've got, gosh, I think we're about covered everything. Well, it appears we're at 10:35.
I've got one more.
Got one more. For you. Okay, well, I wanted to make a comment that James had something exciting to show, but it hasn't come in yet. So if he doesn't make it on the show today, I know next week he's going to talk about his new FlashForge Creator Pro. I've asked him to do a faux open box and maybe give us a first-hand view of it. If you're not familiar with it, this appears to be, can we use the word clone of the Replicator 2X? I think some people gave it that nasty, but the fun thing is, or the good thing, the Forge Plus actually is better than the Replicator 2X because they've taken a lot of improvements and added it to it. The problem with it is, like many of the Chinese printers, FlashForge being one of them, is that their slicer has left a lot to be desired. But if you remember, we talked with Simplified 3D, it does provide profiles for this. They haven't partnered with FlashForge, but they did partner, if you remember, with XYZ. So it does appear that these companies are aware that their slicers needed a little work, and it's good to know. And I've actually suggested to James to go ahead and buy Simplified 3D and start using that as his slicer. All right, so you've got another item?
I've got a product of the week to go over because this product is 3D, and it definitely deserves. I've been dealing with a little family emergency. Been spending a little time at hospitals, which are not my favorite place. But this product has brought some cheer to my life. It's called the new Nintendo 3DS XL, and here it is. And wow. You could even probably see the 3D action with Mario.
Oh, that's right. It's got a
Zelda, the Nintendo favorites. Can't believe I didn't know.
Lens.
Yeah, and it's got face tracking. It's also got a stereoscopic camera on the reverse side. So I've been taking it around Santa Barbara. I've been in Santa Barbara, and I've been taking it around and taking 3D photos and videos with it.
Hey, I've got my anaglyph glasses. Hang on. I'm ready.
So if I could beam these photos to you,
okay.
I'll beam them
to you. Well, you should be showing them right now. I could use it.
Yeah, so here's the product website. I can't believe I've been a Nintendo fanboy for my whole life, ever since I had my first NES and Duck Hunt. And now, and I even have a Wii U. I've had a Wii U for a few years now, and really love that thing. I can't believe I didn't own the 3DS before, being such a Nintendo boy, and I just but I'm glad it was worth the wait, because this new one is a big one, and it's got lots of features, and it's $199, and it's got all kinds of great games already out for it. Nintendo's put a lot of effort in trying to push these units, and the 3D is actually really, really cool because it doesn't require any glasses.
And actually, I'll need to correct it's lenticular, if I did not say that before, which is a prismatic lens. It slices it so that way that you don't require the 3D glasses, because, as you can see there, it provides multiple views based on the lenticular lens. If you're familiar, a lot of postcards use this effect in the past to create a 3D effect.
So it's got two screens, and then so they offer a 2D version of it. But so one of the cool parts is it's got these stereoscopic cameras on the back, and so what you can actually do is you can play augmented reality games, as well as take 3D photos and video. But you can lay down these they call them AR cards. You can put them on a table, and you can actually play games in your real space. Walk around the AR card and shoot at the table and kind of play ping pong and that kind of stuff. So it's a really great console, especially if you like Nintendo games like Mario. I'm more of a casual gamer. I'm not a super serious. I don't play a lot of real serious games. I kind of just like to pick up a Mario game every now and then, or a Zelda game. And
all right, well, I'm going to be Debbie Downer here. Why would I get one of these when I already have a smartphone?
Well, first off, the 3D on this alone, I don't know of a lot of smartphones that have a 3D, functionality built in. But not only that, but this is set up for gaming. So if you look at the image here, it's got a really nice joystick built in, a D-pad, and your normal gaming controllers. It's really geared around full-blown gaming. And not only that, but the content. Nintendo is just notorious for putting out really good content. And we've got, like you said, we have E3 coming up. There's going to be some big announcements from Nintendo. We're all expecting. There's a lot of rumors for both the Wii U and this. But a gaming console is different than a smartphone because it's actually designed specifically for gaming in mind. So the processor and the whole design, aesthetic, everything about it, function, is designed specifically with gaming. Whereas a smartphone is primarily a phone, but then it's got all the smart features that are kind of also built in. And I'm sure one day, actually Nintendo just announced about a month ago that they're going to be branching out into the non-console. They're going to actually take the Mario franchise and probably be incorporating it into the iOS and Android realm.
So, a plus behind this is that you don't have to worry about, while you're playing the game, of getting an interruption from somebody like Mr. Balzer, who calls you right in the middle of your damn game, and you have to answer.
It's a really fun. I can't believe I didn't own one before, and I'm not trying to hype it up at all, but it really is my favorite console of any console I've ever owned, even more so than the Wii U. It's very personal experience. You're very connected. It's very it's kind of a lot like the Oculus in the way that it's very engaging. It kind of gets you, but you don't get that motion sickness. So and you can turn off the 3D at any time. There's a little slider over here that you could slide that down and kind of adjust the 3D on the fly, which is also a nice feature.
Well, and for our audience out there, this is not the first version of the DS. Obviously, the 3 indicating the 3DS, but they've had this clamshell two-screen variant for a few years now, but obviously having some fun functionality into it, as you mentioned, adds to the experience. You did ask, or you mentioned phones. The HTC had a stereoscopic phone with a lenticular screen. What is it, about 5 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago? For those people who got it, they liked it, but it wasn't a popular seller. It was one of the first Androids, and if you remember, Android was not at the stage it is today. So we'll see if there's going to be more introduction to this type of thing with the new sensors made by Google. In fact, I think, is HTC supposed to be putting them out, or is it LG? I think LG is going to have a Project Tango type phone. There's rumors of that happening. So There has been phones out there. They just obviously there's a niche for it, and you can't really sell to a niche. But obviously, Nintendo has worked off of niches for years. Well,
Yeah,
really
and
cool.
Nintendo has content creation. You know, they develop very specialized content for like the 3DS. The software on it is incredible, and it's got some really cool features for. It's got this cool feature called Street Pass. So you leave the it has a really pretty good battery life for what it is, and you just sleep it, you just close it anytime, and you keep it in your bag. And if you pass somebody else that has one and you have Street Pass turned on, then a little green light lights up, like I had one yesterday, and somebody else, I passed somebody on the street, might have even driven past them or rode my bike past them, and we turned into gaming friends, and we can go
How
co-op
fun.
in game. It's like automatic, and it's like this fully. But you don't, it's not, doesn't exchange any personal information. It just it exchanges your kind of like your personal avatar type thing. So it like has
Huh.
mine's my first name, but a lot of people, they just make up their character, and so and there's no personal data, so it's somewhat anonymous. So but you know that you're gaming with somebody that you
Yeah,
passed
physically
on the
present
street.
because
Yeah.
it's a close range system. If I remember correctly, can you do up to like 8 of these at one time? Like you can have an
I'm
8-person
not sure.
game.
I don't haven't enough experience doing it. I just did it for the first time last night, and it's pretty it's pretty new to me, and just the games alone are so fun. I spent a lot of time in the hospital just kind of toying around on this thing. It's pretty fun.
Well, thanks for that, Chris. Obviously, it put a big smile on your face. I've never been a big Nintendo, but I know that they've created carved out a niche for themselves with the Nintendo Wii, and then obviously the 3D or the DS system, and now the 3DS system. Well, it appears that James' icon is up. I don't know if he is out there listening to us. James, you got about 5 or 10 minutes if you want to talk about why you chose the FlashForge Creator Pro. If I don't hear from you, we're going to move right on to
We got some
the
events coming up.
events that are coming up. And one of them, I will be actually participating in, and that is AW 2015, which I'll jump back to. This, as mentioned, is the Augmented World Expo, but it actually is not just augmented reality, it is also VR reality. And look at the big names here. We've got Qualcomm. And you're wondering, well, what about Qualcomm? Well, they've actually been in the background creating a lot of AR libraries, augmented reality libraries, that I have actually signed up for, and I get a lot of announcements from. And I can't exactly remember the name of it, but they've been big in it. Epson has also been very big in AR, and then obviously Intel has been making a push with their sensors. I'm not familiar with DAQRI, so I apologize to anyone who says, what, you're not aware of them? I will know more after Monday or Tuesday. I am going up there to cover them as all things 3D, but I'm also going to be in the occipital booth showing off the, as I call it, the NEODiVR, which uses the Hamado um, VR system. And by the way, that was my product of the week. If you just want a great VR system for a 5.5, let me go back to my, well, you've already seen it, but I'll go back and show it again. If you want a great, inexpensive, great fitting, lightweight, really well made with fully adjustable, I think it's one of the better ones out there. Hamado, $79.95, Amazon Prime. You can have it tomorrow. You can have it for Saturday for full gaming experience. And even though I've changed out the plate, the one that comes with it provides like a tension bar so you can slip in any phone into it. It works really great. It's a great little unit. Hamado, they're out of France. They have a distributor that's got like 5,000 units in California, so snatch one up. Not like as an advertisement, but like I said, I'm using it to create the iPhone 6 Yoti mount experience with the occipital structure sensor. It will be on display, so if you wanted to try it out first, you can come out to our show and see us at AWE, both Monday and Tuesday. And like I said, if Chris has some time, maybe he can run the control room for us, and then we can do a live, again, first-person view presence with some real banter. It was kind of sad being at Maker Faire and not listening to Chris in my ear as I was going through it, because he would have said, no, go there, no, go here, like he did at CES and our other shows. So hopefully he can join me either Monday or Tuesday.
Hopefully, yeah.
So that's coming up. And then, what do we have
And then
going on?
We have Monday,
Monday as well.
At 8 a.m. Live event.
And what is this event?
It's the Worldwide Developer Conference, Apple 2015 Worldwide Developer Conference. There's always good news out of the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference. That's where all the developers meet. Usually, I think it's usually at the Moscone, but I don't know where it is.
No, it's still at the Moscone.
Okay.
Now the thing is, because it's become so popular, they've actually had to use a lottery system. It's about $1,500 to participate, but you can't get in just by paying. There's a lottery because they only have so many seats. This year, I think they've also offered like 100 to 300 seats for what do you want to call it? Kind of a promotional thing, not press, for students who signed up, who they've awarded the opportunity to be part of this. So that it's really cool. You know, as you know, I'm an Apple developer. I've been working on the structure sensor and been involved in some other projects. But one of the things, and one of the reasons I brought it up for obviously 3D is, you know, we've heard from Google, we've heard from Microsoft, we've heard from Sony, we've heard from Oculus, we've heard from Facebook, who bought Oculus. Everybody has some type of VR, AR presence. Who doesn't have an AR, VR presence? Apple. Is this where they're going to announce it? If you go through the sessions, there are a lot of sessions now on the gaming section that all are stem on the announcement that occurs. So I'm wondering what they're going to announce. You know, is it going to be more 3D functionality? You know, if you remember, we talked about it in previous episodes. They bought PrimeSense. Has anything been done with it? They just bought Mateo. Remember them? We talked about them at Real 2015. They were the augmented reality. They bought them. So they've got all these companies that they've purchased, but we don't have any products from them. The other thing is, why did they go on the iPhone 6 Plus with just a standard 1080p screen? They've got one of the largest screens, like a 5 or close to a 6-inch screen, but it's only a 1080p screen. You know what my thoughts are? Their next version, which probably won't be announced here, is going to be a 38 by 40 or a 4K screen. What would be better than to be able to mount that, you know, like on my system here, the NEODiVR Plus, 4K screen. Won't that be stunning? So who knows what's going to be coming out of here, but I'm pretty excited. And, you know, obviously I won't be at Moscone, but I'll be listening to them, live coverage in the occipital booth, or I'll be on the floor, and maybe you can be watching and giving me some feedback. So it's going to be an exciting event. I think they've got some great stuff that they're going to be identifying. You know, I wasn't an Apple Watch person. I didn't buy into it, but I do think that they've got other things that are going to be very interesting. So that's two things. And then obviously the week after that, we've got E3. And even though E3 is more of a gaming thing, obviously 3D has played a big role in a lot of the games that come out of it. We did show on one of the previous episodes the stunning graphics for, what is it called? Star Wars World or something like that. I mean, it looked like something out of the movie. In fact, I thought, this is just from the previous Empire Strikes Back. No, the graphics have really gotten better. I have a feeling that VR is going to have even more of a push this year in E3. So hopefully they'll accept my late registration, and I'll be able to head down there and cover it on the floor with my V.360 for a full surround sound, surround vision gaming system.
Wow.
I had, yeah, it's funny the amount of looks that I got running around in my system. Okay,
Awesome.
well, James kind of dropped out, so I think we'll have to wait till Friday to see what he's got, or next Friday to see what he's got to say. We're at 10:53. We're a change. Maybe we'll close before an hour and a half. You got anything else that you want to talk about? Most of the shows that are the 3D printer shows going around in the next couple of weeks are all outside the country. There's one in Russia that's going on right now. So if you're there, you might want to look into it. A couple of others around the world. As always, there will be a link in the show notes that you can always go out to see what's going on around the country. But these are some of the shows that we're going to be involved with. Again, off Monday and Tuesday. Tune in to WWC if you're not only a developer, but if you want to see what they're going to be moving forward, because since they've got to create the development platforms, this gives you a sneak peek on what they're going to be working on with hardware the next year. And then finally, E3 the week after that. So if you're gaming or even wanting to see where 3D is and all this, that should be a good location to go to. All right, Chris, you want to close us out today?
All right. Well, I really am happy to be back talking about my passion in life, which is all things 3D with my buddy Mike. And we will see you next week on an exciting week of all things 3D.
Bye.